I'm John Strohmeyer, and this is the 5-Star Counsel Podcast. The market for legal services is shifting, and lawyers who don't adapt will be left behind. This podcast gives you a competitive edge in today's market by sharing the client service lessons you probably didn't learn in law school or in law practice. Let's start the show. Welcome back to the 5-Star Counsel Podcast. This week we're talking with Moshe Amsel. Moshe is the host of the Profit with Law podcast, and he also runs the Law Firm Growth Summit. He helps law firm owners grow their practice with a focus on creating generational wealth. He's got a lot of insights into growing and scaling law firms. Moshe and I had an interesting conversation about the attorney mindset and how that's a great thing when addressing legal issues for clients. But it can get in the way when running a business and can lead attorneys into traps as they run their firms. We had a lot of fun talking, and I'm excited for you to listen in. Let's get to the interview. Hey, 5-Star listeners. Before we start, I want to tell you about our amazing sponsor, Smith AI. Smith AI is a virtual receptionist service for small businesses with a specialty in working with solo and small law firms. I signed up with them within weeks of starting my firm because they are affordable for even the smallest solo practice. Their friendly receptionists respond to potential clients in Spanish or English, screen and schedule new leads, and can even take payments. And now they're answering calls 24 hours a day. So even when you're asleep, they're still working. Even beyond the phone, they've got live agents and chatbots ready to capture leads on your website, by text, and by Facebook Messenger. Smith's friendly gatekeepers can staff your front line so you can work uninterrupted. You can finally have the peace of mind that while you're working, you're not missing out on future work. Plans start at just $70 a month for calls and $100 a month for chats. Smith AI is offering a free trial, and our podcast listeners get an extra $100 discount code with promo code 5STAR. That's FIVESTAR. Sign up and learn more at www.smith.ai. Don't let another day go by. Try Smith AI. Hey, Moshe, it's great to have you here today. I'm really excited about it.
John, I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, I mean, it took a bit of getting you on, but here we are. And one of the things that is hard that in talking to other lawyers about client service is lawyers have a lawyer mindset, and it serves them very well when they're in the courtroom, when they're advising clients. But that's only part of the business that we run. We've got to break lawyers out of that mindset. And so you're here in part because you're not a lawyer, but you're still advising lawyers on how to increase the level of their business, get things going better. And so you've seen it, but you're coming at it from a different but somewhat related profession, at least for me. As a tax attorney, I work with a lot of CPAs. You're coming from that background, and I think you've seen a lot of the same lawyer mindset, but we'll call it CPA mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And to give a little bit of an insight in how I ended up serving lawyers, I'm affiliated with the Profit First organization. So there's a book by Mike McCallum. It's called Profit First, and I am a Profit First professional. When I started working with that organization, we actually were getting leads from them. Now they charge like a different tier level, so I don't get leads from them anymore. But I got a law firm as a client through there, and they then referred me to another law firm, Before I knew it, I had 5 law firms as clients, and I started to see a common theme amongst them. And that theme was each of them was paying for coaching from a coaching organization that is run by an attorney who says, hey, I was successful. Here's how I got here. Let me show you how to do it. And I'm not knocking those people. They all, they have their successes, but they don't necessarily approach it from, this is how to run a healthy business. This is what you need to understand as a business owner, but rather this is what I did and this is what worked. So let's do that for you too. And often they're skipping the whole business side of it. So what I found is that all these law firms had beautiful offices, a decent sized staff, client flow, but they were not making money. They literally were moving personal funds into the business every payroll cycle to cover payroll, and then moving money out, when there was extra money to be had. And it boggled my mind that this was happening, and they didn't understand why it was happening. And that's when I realized that there's a real market here to educate the lawyer firm owner on how to run a business. And law firm owners are going to be the first ones to tell you, hey, they don't teach business in law school. And there's only so long that you could hide behind that before you have to emerge and say, okay, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to learn how to operate a business. And that's why I think that coming at it from the accounting angle and from understanding business to be able to teach somebody or show somebody how to run a successful business, it doesn't need to be this cookie cutter approach that only works for one practice area or only works for one specific target market area or something like that. So the business is it's very simple. There's a certain amount of revenue that comes in, a certain amount of expenses that go out, and the difference is the profit that you get to keep. And the problem that we have is that people just don't pay attention to those numbers. They don't realize how high their expenses are creeping. And every good idea seems like a good idea. We spend money on it. And before you turn around, there's nothing left for the business owner. And to your point with customer service, that's a whole area of business that is ignored potentially with the law firm. The legal profession got here from a certain place. Lawyers have been trained and had it knocked into them throughout law school that lawyers they're professionals, they're not business owners. And that's been the mantra for many, many years with the legal profession. It's kind of a right that you have as a lawyer, and it's a privilege that your clients have to be able to work with you to be able to have their legal matter handled. And as long as you approach it from that perspective, you're never going to be a business owner. And you need to flip the script on that. You need to change the way that you think about it and understand that all you're doing is selling a widget. Your widget happens to be legal services, but you're no different than Walmart, Midas, Five Guys. Now, those are all, different industries, different examples, very low ticket product. Yours is a higher ticket product. But at the end of the day, you have to attract a client. You have to sell them your service. You have to deliver the service. You have to create a satisfied client so that they will tell other people about it. If somebody asks me what's the best burger, I'm going to tell them I love Five Guys. Somebody else might have a different opinion. They might like a different burger, but that's the one I love. So that's the one that I'm going to tell people about. And probably through those conversations, I've turned one or more people onto Five Guys as a burger joint to go check out. That's how business has grown organically by itself without needing to do any sort of marketing, by simply creating satisfied and happy clients. So, John, I'll turn it over back to you. That was a very long-winded answer to your question.
No, it was great. And I'm going to start way, way back at the beginning because you keyed off of something that I think is really important to hone in on is lawyers do what other lawyers do. And the reason we do that is we're risk-averse pessimists. We learn about how things have gone wrong. But the reason we've learned how things have gone wrong is it's this funny little word called precedent. Mm-hmm. And lawyers love precedent. If somebody has done it once before, that is infinitely better than nobody ever having done it before. To the point that if nobody's ever done it before, it is just de facto wrong and should not be done. It is dangerous. We should stay away at all costs. And that's the problem. You get lawyers who have taught other lawyers how to run a business, and this is an audio medium, so you can't see the air quotes, but you're running the professional services firm, but you're doing it the way the lawyer who hired you ran his professional services firm, who learned it from the person who taught him, who learned it from the person who taught him. And you're still mired in that professional mindset where you somehow think that the Venn diagram between a professional services firm and a business doesn't overlap, when in fact, almost all of that circle for professional services is inside of the business. It's not, we're out here with the artists. We just happen to charge better and more exorbitantly than most artists. If we're going to make payroll, if we're going to run a business and be happy with what we're doing, we've got to run it like a business. And, that involves getting out of the lawyer mindset that we've had drilled into us so much that we have to do it like every other lawyer does it. Otherwise, we're doing something wrong and possibly unethical.
Yeah, and there's so many points that you just touched on that I'd like to highlight. But the first is being a difference maker. What would be the reason to be a difference maker? Why would you want to go away from precedent and try something new? And the reason is because you want to capture more market, right? You want to be able to expand your client base. Now, picture a pizza pie, right? You cut the pizza pie into 8 slices. There's 8 slices in the pie. The only way to make more slices is to make smaller slices and bigger slices. If you want to consume more of the pie, you got to have 2 slices or 3 slices, right? There's two ways to consume more pizza. One is to consume more slices or make bigger slices. The other way is to make a bigger pie, right? Both of those are valid ways to expand your business. So, in order to expand your pie, that's going to require thinking outside the box. You have to think about, okay, how can I charge more for what I'm already doing? And that's where you have to start thinking about. This past May, we introduced this idea and we spent an entire month on the Profit with Law podcast about it, which is creating information products as part of what your law firm offers. And that whole concept of teaching somebody and charging for that education is foreign to lawyers. And if you start thinking about it, that lawyers immediately, the shields go up. Oh my gosh, I can't teach somebody how to do what I do because then I'm not going to have any clients, and I'm going to basically, cut off the my supply of clients that's coming in. But if you start to think about it and you start to analyze, who is it for? So there's a few different ways that you can use an information product. One is to replace your services. That's one option for somebody who wants to do it themselves. They're not hiring you anyway. If they're trying to save $10,000, they're gonna find another way to get it done, with or without you. You may as well make $1,000 or $1,500 along the way and teach them how to do it themselves, right? Or you can look earlier in the client journey and you can say, okay, what is the thing that happens before they step into my office? What if I could solve that problem? And then a subset of the people who I try to solve that problem for won't succeed and will then become law firm clients. Now I've expanded the pie of who's possible for me to service by just introducing a new item that I can sell in my repertoire of widgets, right? So this kind of thinking, and there's all kinds of things that are, like flat fee pricing instead of hourly billing, marketing, the different types of marketing you could do. And, writing blog posts is the only thing that lawyers know how to do, right? What about creating a podcast? What about doing a summit? What about being a guest on other people's shows? What about doing in-person talks or, at local events and local things within your area? What about collaborating with other professionals to create a dynamic where you're creating an event that's even more powerful than what you can provide? So there's so many things that require you to think outside the box, and it requires you to go away from that precedent into, hey, I'm going to try something new. And if you look at entrepreneurs who are successful, they got successful because they were willing to do the uncomfortable. They were willing to do what wasn't done before. They were willing to try something new. And I mean, we could use examples of Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, but we don't have to go to names that feel untouchable. Just look around you at the local restaurant owner that you like. What did they do different in their restaurant that attracts you there? They did something that maybe it's good food, maybe it's the specific experience you have, maybe it's the decor of the place, but they did something that was risky and they went outside of their comfort zone to do that. And I think that that's what we need to recognize, is that success comes from the discomfort. Success comes from going outside of what to work and trying something that doesn't work, or that may not work, that has risk, right? So last December, we ran the Law Firm Growth Summit. It was the first successful virtual conference for law firm owners. Now, yes, granted, now in 2020, everybody's virtual, right? All conferences went virtual. The whole idea is not novel anymore. But when we did it, it was the first time an event like that was run. We tried so many new things with that event. We made it free. Who creates an event and then makes it free to attend? Like, where's the business model in that, right? But no, we wanted to provide education to attorneys to be able to grow their firm, and we wanted to make it accessible to everybody. So we made it virtual, we made it free, and you have no excuses. There's no reason why you can't attend.
Right.
And, so it takes thinking outside the box, going against the grain. Even now, we're planning the next summit. Now we're going the other direction. Everybody's creating free events. They're all creating virtual events. People are having a hard time getting value from it. We're going to go the opposite direction. We're going to create a virtual event that's paid, that you have to pay to access. It's going to be a premium type event where we're going to pull out all the stops and make it super valuable for you, so that it's not just another webinar style event. So you always need to look at what is going on around you. What does the market look like? And maybe take the opposite approach. Try to swim upstream instead of going with the flow, because that's where you can expand the pie.
As you were talking, you reminded me of a quote from a great thinker. His name is Andrew Wilkes Cryer, and the idea is discomfort is a small price to pay for brilliance. And it's something that I keep in my head all the time. I keep a little notebook with me, and there are about 10 quotes that every time I set up a new notebook, I'm always rewriting that one. And I'm rewriting all the quotations, but that's one of them that's in there of you've got to be willing to step out and accept some risk on this. And the lawyers who are listening now, who are worried about ethical concerns, we're not asking you to violate any of the rules of ethics. What we're saying is there's a different model because we've been locked into you go from talking to somebody to full representation. And that's a big step for most people. I mean, if you're running a business on this, you're asking people to hand over several $1,000s at least to get going on a full representation. By setting up these smaller steps, you're making it easier for people to come on board. If the education product, even if it's, I'm selling you a $25 10-page ebook on your practice, things you need to know. You're helping people get used to hearing from you, and you're making the smaller steps so that they're developing that relationship with you. And the easier you make it to get engaged with you, and not in the full legal representation sense, but just to interact with you, that will help you develop further. It's the camel getting the nose under the tent. You can't just go barging in. You've got to start somewhere. And, for us, it's recognizing that there are gradations in how the relationship, the financial relationship between a lawyer and a client will work. You've got to find ways to break it down and make it easier. Now, there are some people who are going to say, well, look, I have so much, I don't even need to worry about it. That's fine. For most of us, though,
those people are not listening to this podcast right
now. Fair. That's the idea, is you've got to look for the ways to make it easier for them to interact with you because, for years, for decades, generations even, lawyers had the wall of monopoly up around us. Nobody could get access to the law. We had, in some states, prevented anybody from reprinting the basic laws in states. That has changed. People have access to the law. It doesn't mean they're able to replicate what we can do, but they can look it up and get to what they think is a reasonable answer. You'd mentioned blogs. Yes, that's a way to show off what you're doing. And so kind of a combination of people think they can get their own answers themselves. It's lowered the demand, their perceived demand for lawyers, which means we've got to raise what we're doing in other areas so that they have a reason to call us. They know when. I'm not selling different or special access to the law. I'm selling the experience and the ability of, the widget you're looking for is a good result. It's not, time on task necessarily. It's result. What measurable result are you looking for? I can't guarantee that, I don't do litigation, but in terms of planning, I can't necessarily guarantee everything will always work forever. But we'll make sure that you've got a plan in place that gets things done. For litigation, we can't guarantee that you're going to win, but we can guarantee a certain level of effort and expertise that we can bring to a matter based on our years of experience. If you've never done this before, you're going to waste a lot of time and a lot of effort getting to possibly the same result. You hire the expert because we'll ultimately save you time and brain damage from having to learn how to do this thing. And for the people who may not need that, taking the step back, the people who just want a course because they're going to do it themselves, you're right. Those are people you wouldn't have had for full representation, but if you can get the course and help them with that, they may end up referring you to somebody who does need that full representation. And taking a step even further down, the person who's going out looking for blogs was never going to hire you anyway. They're not going to read the blog and be like, oh, I have this extra $10,000 that I was going to keep and spend on something else. Now I'm going to go hire a lawyer. You'll, maybe 1 in 100 will hire you after reading your brilliant blog post, but more than likely they were never going to hire you anyway. You might have helped guide them at least to less of a problem, and they may have the knock-on effect of passing you on to somebody else who does hire you.
Right. Or they're earlier in the process, right? They're still figuring out what their problem is and what the solution to their problem is. And they're not necessarily dealing with, hey, I need representation right now. They haven't arrived at that point. I follow Ryan Dice from Digital Marketer for a lot of my marketing education. And one of the things that he teaches is this journey of the client journey, the journey that they take. And at the beginning, you have to make them aware. There's the awareness stage, and there's 3 levels of awareness. There's problem awareness, there's solution awareness, and then there's your company's solution awareness, right? So first, somebody needs to be aware that they have a problem, and that's usually where you can identify, hey, you're somebody I need to talk to because you resonate with this problem, you're experiencing it. Then I can introduce the solution to you. Now, some people already know that the solution exists, or I can educate you and say, hey, this is the solution to the problem. And then I can tell you, by the way, my firm provides this solution and we do it in this unique way, which is why you want to definitely check us out and think about working with us. So even if they are aware of the solution, they might not be aware that your firm is the right firm to do that solution for them. So there's this 3 levels of awareness. And the easiest ones to find are the ones who are solution aware and know that you do it, but there's very few of those. And then there's the ones that are solution aware, don't know your firm does it. That's the next easiest step of people to find. But if you really want to expand the market that you're dealing with, you have to find the people who are problem aware and not solution aware, which is why blog posts work, which is why, somebody going and educating themselves on the problem they're having is how they discover the solution and how they discover that you provide that solution. And then you end up getting a call from them. So I'm not knocking writing blog posts. I think that it has a place in your marketing arsenal, but I think that we need to start thinking in this way. Like, how many law firm owners are aware of the different levels of awareness? How many of them are even approaching their marketing conversation from there? And that's what I'm referring to as, as a business owner, you need to educate yourself on all aspects of business. So you have to make a decision. Am I going to be a lawyer or am I going to be a law firm owner? And if you're going to be a law firm owner, recognize that being a lawyer is a very different job, and you could try to wear both hats, but you're probably better off hiring a lawyer to do the lawyering and running your business if that's what you want to do, because running a business is a very different animal. It's a very different process than acting as a lawyer, than being in the words of Michael Gerber, being the technician. Right. So I think that when we look at the whole picture and we come full circle and we start talking about whether it's a marketing conversation, a financial conversation, a customer service centric conversation, all those conversations have to be had with your owner hat on, your entrepreneur hat on. And if you don't see yourself as an owner or an entrepreneur, then that's the first problem. And that's the first thing you need to address.
Right. You've got to understand that most lawyers are wearing 2 hats at once. They're wearing the owner hat. They're also wearing the employee hat, but they think there's some special, it's a new kind of hat, or it's a unique hat for me. And that's nonsense. When I go back to my days at the hotel, I was a manager there, a manager at the Four Seasons. I got there at 11 o'clock at night. I'd leave at 8 or 9 in the morning. I was in charge, but that was my employee hat. I had no ownership stake. I was making decisions. And as the employee, I had certain tasks that were on my desk to do. I also had certain things that I just managed the process of. When you turn to a law firm, when I got to a law firm, I was like, oh, well, no, this is unique. We're expected to be working queen bees, not worker bees. At the hotel, I was just a worker bee. I was not the queen bee, owner bee. And I was like, oh, I've got to, we're this unique hybrid where we have to both work in the business and run it. We are just so special. And no, that's not how it works. You wear both hats usually at the same time without knowing it, but they involve very different mindsets, because the owner is still an employee and needs to think about the employee mindset of, well, you're here to bring the skills of a lawyer when you're doing the legal work. Now, if you're solo, small firm where you're also running the HR and accounting, sure, you've got different mindsets there, but the legal, make the perfect the enemy of the good, squash out all dissent, don't accept mistakes or risk, that's good just when you're wearing the employee hat as a lawyer. But as the owner of the firm, the partner, whatever you want to call it, you've got to change your mindset and say, we've got to think about things in a way that we're taking some risk. We have to make it easier for people, but we have to stand out. And while the lawyer mindset is good in one area, we can't use that for running our business.
Yeah, and I want to highlight why this is so important for a law firm owner to think about and to really grasp and overcome. Because we can sit here behind the microphone and say you need to do this, and the person listening is like, well, yeah, maybe somebody else does. I don't need to. Just put this out there so that you understand why today is the day that you need to really think about this and address it. We're in a world where I could literally stand in my kitchen and talk to Alexa and have her draft a motion for me, right? And I'm not a lawyer. And that's basically where we're at. Like, technology has gotten to the point where we have everything that we need as far as knowledge goes at our fingertips. It's the gig economy. I mean, look at Uber and Lyft. Like, how did they take off, and how did they come into existence? Because they solved a problem, which was people want the ability to just get what they want right here, right now. And then people who want to work as taxi drivers, or want to be able to make a couple extra bucks, don't want to have to go through some whole shebang and hassle of getting a medallion and all that. They just want to be able to log into an app and get in their car and say, okay, I'm available for service, right? So LegalZoom, DIY options, the fact that there's enough knowledge out there that people can just go to the court and get the paperwork that they need and do things themselves, all create this situation where you have to start questioning, why would somebody use a lawyer as opposed to those other options? How can I make the experience that somebody's going to get using my firm something that is so worthwhile that they're willing to pay up big to do that? And when you start to approach the conversation from that question, it can lead you down the road of understanding why customer-centric and client-centric activities are where it's at. I'll give you an example. Okay, my car just got carted off on a flatbed this morning to a transmission place because it's got some slippage in the transmission. We're going to get it checked out. Now, I had to go on Google and look for a transmission place. I found a place that was well rated, that wasn't too far from here. I called them up, and they tell me how busy they are and how they can't fit me in until 2 weeks later, and I have to beg and grovel for them to like take a look at my car, earlier than that. But I know going into it that, hey, they're even if they look at it today and they tell me what it's going to cost to repair, who knows? They'll probably sit there for 2 weeks just to get repaired because they're so busy. And then they're like, oh, do you have AAA? You got to arrange for a tow. That might be a good way to go about it. Now, that's one experience, and that's the standard, right? Any transmission places I'm going to have the same experience with. Now, what if I called and instead they said, oh, wow, we're a busy shop, but we're going to squeeze you in as quickly as possible. We understand that you're stuck without a car right now. As a matter of fact, why don't I send my tow truck over to pick it up? How about the next couple of hours? We'll be there. We'll pick up the car for you. We might not look at it until Thursday, but we'll get it off your driveway and we'll put it in and get it in line. And maybe we can get to it sooner. And if we could, we'll do that. And then once they look at the car, then they call me up and they say, hey, we're really sorry. This is the problem that we found. It's going to cost you X, Y, and Z to fix it. We already went and valued your vehicle and took a look at it and made some analysis for you on whether it's worth fixing or not. And here's our analysis for you to look at so you don't have to go and do that yourself. Oh, and by the way, we were able to push a job over and do something else. And if you want to move forward with it, we can squeeze you in tomorrow and have it done for you in a couple of days. Oh, and we're going to take that $110 diagnostic fee and we're going to put it towards your repair as well. And the last thing is we'll deliver the car back to you so you don't have to come and get it. Now, contrast those two experiences, right? If I have that second experience, am I running around and telling everybody and their mother about that transmission place? Like, anybody who ever runs into a transmission issue, you got to go and check out Vinny at 4-Star Transmissions in Stony Point, because they are oh my gosh, what a breathtaking experience that was, right? And that's what you need to do as a law firm, because people are willing to pay for experiences today. They're not willing to pay for service. The service they could do themselves, the service they could find somebody on Craigslist to do it. You don't think there are attorneys on Craigslist? Go look. Okay, they can find somebody cheaper than you to do it. You don't want to be the Walmart of legal services. You want to create an experience that's unforgettable. And that experience happens through close communication, thinking ahead of the game and anticipating the next challenge so you already address it before it comes up. It's not being reactive to client emergencies. It's creating a situation where the client never has emergencies. That is how you create a red carpet experience that people are willing to pay for. And it's so easy to do. but nobody does it. So it's going to make you different.
Oh, Moshe, yeah. There's so much to react to in there, but I think we're going to close out on the idea that you hit on multiple times in multiple ways in there. The idea that knowledge is a commodity. If you're worried about finding a recipe to cook anything, that's not a problem anymore. I mean, before it was just cookbooks where you had to pay for the expertise of the author to go collect and test the recipes. Now you can pull up and find a million recipes for whatever you need. The other side of it is the skills of doing something. Like you said, Uber's out there. The taxi companies and the limo services used to have the monopoly on that, but Uber and Lyft are coming in. Here, you want people who can just drive you around? We've got them for you. In the legal space, there are all sorts of options for going to find a lawyer who is licensed somewhere to do a thing for you as another lawyer. So you can outsource that. But what's left to us are the delivery that we have for our clients, and then the expert status of knowing what's coming down the line, because we don't get paid for knowing how to draft the motion. That's easy. You can go Google that form anywhere you want. It may not be perfect, but it'll be close enough. The knowledge we pick up in school, it's the value as the expert, and then the delivery that we can use to set ourselves apart and make it easy for folks.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. We started a little book club for law firm owners. Actually, my daughter, who works here at the company, Mimi, spearheaded that project because it was on my to-do list. It just wasn't getting around to it. It's called The Reader's Nook, and you can just search in Facebook and join the group. But the book that we're reading currently when we're recording this is How to Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman. And it's just going through that book and reading it and understanding that there are real emotional stages in the client journey. Did you know that after the client signs on the dotted line and hands you over their first check, that they go home and they agonize over their decision and have buyer's remorse and try to figure out if there's a way to get out of the contract? If you understood that that's what happens after somebody walks away from your office, what if you did something to address that? What if you had an email go out or a phone call go out an hour after they left the office saying, hey, I know one of the natural things is to second guess, your decision to move forward. But I just want to remind you that we've already taken this step in your case. We've already assigned an attorney. We've already set up your first appointment. Here's the next step. And, this is what you can expect. And this is what you can experience. That extra touch point where you think, okay, they signed on and I don't need to do anything for 2 weeks till the first thing is due. And then they don't hear from you for 2 weeks. That's the wrong way to go about it. But that extra touch point does everything to change that experience and remove that emotional fear and roller coaster that the client is going to go on when they leave your office. So recognizing and anticipating what those things are that somebody's going to go through and addressing them in a way that they don't have to go through that experience is going to be the difference.
Awesome. Moshe, I think this is a great place to land the plane, as I like to say. Where can dear listener find you on the onlines?
Oh, my goodness. So the easiest thing is the podcast, Profit with Law podcast. We're in every podcast player, well over 130 episodes. And now my phone is ringing in the background because we went over our time. So, let your editors have fun with that. But I forgot to put it on DND. So that's my fault. But the Profit with Law podcast, also lawfirmgrowthsummit.com. Right now, it's got 2019 summit up there. I don't know when this is going to get released, but we're going to be announcing the new summit soon. You can go there and check it out. But really the best thing, profitwithlaw.com or search for Profit with Law in any of your podcast players. And you can join the Reader's Nook too, so we've got a lot of options for you.
Excellent. Moshe, thanks so much for being with us today.
John, I appreciate you having me and keep up the great work with your show.
Thanks so much for listening. You can find more info on us and get your free white paper on client service at 5starcounsel.com. You can get in touch with me at john@5starcounsel.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe wherever fine podcasts are found and leave us a review wherever you can.